Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're so glad to welcome you to our show tonight. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and distributed live stream. By entering this virtual meeting room, you give your consent to be recorded and distributed by Simeon Morrow Public Speaking and Presentations, Vienna Live with Simeon Morrow, and other third parties. If you prefer to not be recorded, please turn off your camera and microphone and/or go to the LinkedIn live video feed, the link to which I will now place in the chat room. For a better experience, please turn off your microphone and set your video to gallery view. This show thrives on participant contributions, and all participants are encouraged to actively participate in this webinar by asking questions and making comments. To do so, please either write in the chat room, raise your hand, or turn on your microphone and say hi, and I will be delighted to include your perspective in the conversation. Tonight, our featured guests are Sylvia Eisenberger-Kuntz, Secretary General of the Society of the Friends of the Fine Arts Vienna, and Ramesh Daha, a visual artist and president of the Vienna Secession. Sylvia, welcome.
Hello.
Sylvia, would you please tell us a little bit about yourself and why you founded the Society of Friends of the Fine Arts Vienna?
Okay. Well, in fact, I didn't found it myself. It was founded by an Austrian architect who had the idea, Gustav Feichel, quite renowned, and a very efficient banker who put it into reality. I had always been connected with art. My mother was an art historian, my father an architect, so I grew up with art. But the real impulse I got in New York from a friend, the collector and art dealer, Serge Zabarsky, who was my mentor, and he really put me in the art track. And as a consequence, I bothered everybody with my interest in art. And at one point, a friend of mine said they are founding the Society of Friends. It was just being founded. Now they need somebody to run it. And since you've been pestering everybody all the time, it might be the ideal job for you. So I applied and got the job.
Fantastic. Wow. Ramesh, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. Hi.
So Ramesh, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you decided to pursue the journey of becoming a professional visual artist?
Sure. So I'm born 71 in Iran. We had to escape from the Islamic Revolution to Vienna, where my mother comes from. So I spent my childhood here in Austria with all the politics these days, and I come also from a very political family from Iran. This influenced me a lot. So I would say two obsessions I always had for history and politics and painting. So that was actually, I had to find a way of some idea how to bring things together to become a political artist. And this is why I started to paint and to learn. And my professor was Georg Eisler, very well-known Austrian artist, who I would say, was a communist and social democrat, a very good friend of Brunner Kreisky, son of Hans Eisler. So I would say I had like a very important composer and friend of Fred Brecht. So I would say I had like a very great artistic father who was teaching me when I was 19. So that was my start.
Wow. Okay. And Sylvia, can you tell us more about the Society of Friends of the Fine Arts Vienna? What is, you said that you pestered everybody about the fine arts, and eventually they said, well, we want you to take over this Society of Friends of the Fine Arts Vienna. What is a day in the life of the Society of Friends of the Fine Arts Vienna like?
A day, well, the day is what we do is we support museums. We were founded for the Academy of Fine Arts called the Friends of the Academy. And and we support young artists, and we try to get the Austrian public closer to fine arts. Like these are all you just showed a list of on our website, the donations that we gave to museums. We give about 400 works, always at the wish of the museums. Exactly. Here you see the so-called new masters, Arnulf Reiner and Herzog and so forth, Herbert Böckel, Max Weiler. All these works were acquired for the Academy of Fine Arts, which you see right here. They're the so-called new masters. We also have a list of old masters that you are going to show afterwards, I guess. Coming. Yes, these are the old masters that we bought. And as I said, what we do is we buy at the request. This is a Höfische Gesellschaft, very nice Dutch painting. It's always what the director of the collection wants to have. Hubert Robert, for instance, who is specializing in ruins. That is, again, that's a very important one. That is Johannes Itten, the Red Tower. That is one of our most important purchase for the Museum of Modern Art again. So when the museum wants a painting, this is Christian Boltanski, internationally renowned, also Museum of Modern Art. We try to make it possible, but we never force any work. This is Max Oppenheimer, a portrait of Rosa Kraus, who is the sister-in-law of the famed writer Karl Kraus of Austria, around in the beginning of the 20th century. We always try to fulfill their work. This is Thomas Ruff, quite a famous and extremely expensive by now, a photographer who does huge portraits of all sorts of people. So that's what they approach us. And Tony Craig, of course, that is a major work acquired us. And when did we do that? I think in the 90s, was in the 90s. We bought that for the Museum of Modern Art. So all in all, it's always what they want, and we try to make it possible. But that's not only the day. So every day we get a call, and what we choose on our own is the young artists who are recommended either by the academy, by their teachers, or by gallery people. Because when a young artist gets a first exhibition, they get nothing. They get sometimes the premises, the rooms in a gallery, but they have to pay for the posters, for envelopes, for whatever. And so we try to give them a first kick and buy a work of art. That we do on our own. We decide on our own, and we have acquired quite a collection by now, and museums are welcome. Many of them have really made it, and the museums can come approach us and pick some of the works that we bought from these young artists. So it goes many ways.
And Sylvia, tell us a little bit about the museums you work with. So can any museum approach you even outside of Austria, or do you have certain connections?
Well, we have partner museums, where the most important are the Academy of Fine Arts, for whom we were founded. Then 5 years after our founding, the Museum of Modern Art came up and said they have a friends circle, but it costs them money instead of getting them money, which is not the idea really of a supporting group. So we took them, they dissolved their own circle, and we took them. And since almost 20 years again, Albertina Museum, under the present director, they also approached us, couldn't we join? So they are the most they benefit most. There are 13 other museums on the side, like the Museum of Applied Art, the Kunstforum, etc., who give us free admission, our members, and we get them something, but not as much as the 3 major ones. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, of course, if not a museum, but if some artist that we appreciate is wanted by like we bought for the Guggenheim works, because they approached us and said it was Austrian artists, and they wanted, and said, okay, sure, it's good for Austrian artists. It was Arnulf Reiner to be shown at the Guggenheim, so we got them 2 paintings.
Fantastic.
That was many years back too.
So in among artists, among museums, it's quite a privilege then to have a good relationship with the Society of Friends of the Fine Arts Vienna.
Well, I hope so, yes. Better.
Fantastic.
No,
So,
that's the intent of a joke. No. We're getting along very, it's concentrated in Austrian museums, not only Vienna, but Salzburg, Linz, Graz, and so forth. No, but I'm a friendly type and I get along with museum directors anyway, whether they want something or not.
fantastic. Ramesh, tell us about you. You said you were a political artist, which sounds very exciting. Tell us about how you got interested in the visual arts in the first place. You said you come from a family that's very politically engaged. Why is it that you decided, how is it that, did you go to the Albertina, or did you meet Sylvia to get excited about the fine arts? How is it that you started going into the visual arts and then decide to go to the Academy of the Fine Arts, Vienna?
When we came to Austria, I didn't know a word German. So it was kind of a restart of life, like leaving everything and starting from zero. The only thing what really saved me was painting as a kid. So I painted day and night. And then the first time my grandmother was at the Kunst's Art Historian Museum, and I saw the Velasquez. I couldn't just stop watching it. So once a week, I was begging my parents to bring me there. So everyone knew me already, and they said, like, just go there and just breathe the air of this museum. And so this is how it started. I just studied all these paintings as a kid for myself, and I loved it. It was just true love. And so that was clear, I have to paint. This is the only way to be happy, and this is the only way how to see the world for myself. So it started when I was very young. And I also wanted to understand the world. So why is it wrong to be a foreigner why is it wrong to be somewhere? Why do you have to escape? What did you do? So as a kid, you're questioning, is it because of me, or is it because why is it? So I started to read many books about history, and I was listening to oral history. I was always asking old people in Austria when I learned German, I had like my tool to talk to people. It was a good one and a bad one, because many of them were racist. They just didn't like me for my name.
Oh,
Really bad. No, that was terrible.
terrible
But
for a kid.
For a kid, it was terrible.
Yes.
But there were also really nice people telling me that everything is right and it's good that you're here, and just keep on going. Become a human rights activist. Just never stop. And then I met Georg Eisler when I was 19 at the summer academy, and I started, and he thought I'm very talented, and he was supporting me, and then he asked me to visit him in his studio in the 3rd district. And the first time when I saw all his painting, was like, oh my God, this is my dream. I always want to be like that. And so he invited me to do a life drawing there and life painting. And then he asked me one day he called me at 7 in the morning. I was still at school. I had to finish my fashion school. And he just told me, okay, listen, you finish your school, but if you want, you can be my private student now. And I was like, oh my God, this is like, I don't know, lottery. This is something what happened. This is like a dream. And I asked him, like, am I allowed also to talk about? Like, is it secret? Is it okay to be a private student? It's like, oh my God, yes. So, and this is how it started. He was strict. He wanted me to paint every day, to draw every day, to wake up at 6 or 7 in the morning and to start my day. This is what I still do, by the way. He was teaching me, and also not about painting, also about music, about politics, also to be open to listen to people and to have an own opinion. So after 2 years, I said, okay, listen, I have to leave you. I have to leave Vienna. I have to I have to learn a language. So this is how I just started to travel and to go to Vancouver, where my family was, because we all escaped to all over the world, especially to the States and also to Canada. And my grandparents lived in Vancouver, and I missed them a lot, like Iranian grandparents. And my grandfather was a senator. So he was like lexicon. I could ask him everything, and he knew everyone. Like, he worked with Mossad there, and it's about Iran. So I learned a lot. I was listening, and that was the beginning of my research. And to understand what is it? What is Iran, or where did everything started? So I decided to study the history beginning from the constitutional revolution in Iran. So that was the start.
Okay.
So this is my journey.
Wow. So Sylvia, tell us about first meeting Ramesh. And so I understand you told us before that the Society of Friends of the Fine Arts Vienna has this freedom to nourish, to help grow and promote younger artists, to give them that chance. How is it that you met Ramesh, and what is it that you saw that told you, yes, we want to support this artist?
In the beginning, the director of the graphics collection of the Academy of Fine Arts told me about this gifted young artist who is also a very pleasant person. Wouldn't I want to meet her? And said, absolutely. And we got together, and that's how her works. She's still very young, but she was even very much younger then. It was pretty long ago. And went to see her works, and I liked her works. It was already portraits, partly portraits of chicken, and the chicken bag, the porno chicken behind, and portraits of children. And we bought two works, and stayed friends. And I've been observing her ever since, and was especially impressed when later she compulsively painted portraits of victims of the 9/11 attack in New York, because one of her relatives had been in the World Trade Tower and got killed there. And she took pictures out of the internet and painted and painted and painted, like, I mean, really obsessed. And I think that was so strong and so great. And so I think that's one of her she has since then transgressed even further, but that was really the work that impressed me extremely much.
Okay, let's take a look at it right now.
Yes.
So here it is. Ramesh, can you tell us a little bit about
Sure.
this?
I must say it's a work in progress. I'm still working on it. It's my life project. It's very private. So all portraits are in my studio in boxes. I painted almost 1,000. So I have many other projects going on, like about Iran, Holocaust, book burnings, Iraq, Afghanistan. But this one, for me, 9/11, of course, Darya Lynn, my relative, died. And this was like one of the first victims CNN were showing. And for me, it was impressive to see, first of all, this catastrophe for me was the beginning of a new war. I still believe in that. So that was a start. And as I say, I was painting portrait for almost, I would say, 15 to 20 years. And for me, it was like a natural instinct to paint her to start. And when I painted her, I knew I have to paint all. And this is how I started. They're all the same size. They're acrylic on linen. I still research few of the portraits, pictures, images. And this is one word. So I never would split them. And they have numbers. Yeah, this is how you search. Like in the First World War, you were searching for relatives with portraits. So all this for me was very fascinating, and I have a big respect of all the relatives as well. So yeah, this is why I say it's one body of work, victims 9/11.
And Ramesh, so tell us about this idea of these portraits. When you said that you were starting, when you first left Iran as a young girl with your family, and you ended up in Vienna, in this foreign place where you couldn't speak the language, people were hostile towards you. You said that painting was this kind of thing that you did that kind of saved you. It was what you did from day through night, and that when you met your mentor at the academy, before you went to the Academy of the Fine Arts Vienna, that he kind of also had that same work style, that same kind of way of getting up early. The first thing you do at 6:30 in the morning is you're working on technique. How does this fit in there? Is this, I mean, because it also, this idea of painting more than 3,000 portraits of these 3,000, more than 3,000 victims, I mean, it takes on this almost religious significance, doesn't it? That, it's such a large project that's made up of all of these individual people that each one of them you could spend a lifetime just covering.
No, it is. No, actually, this is a lifetime project. This is how I thought about it. On one hand, it's like, it's also interesting to have one project during your life, because you change as an artist, your style, your view, world is changing, geopolitics is changing. So I think it's kind of also for me a safe platform where I can express it. And it's like, it's about one day, it's about knowing there in few hours how many people can die. It's like this collective dying and numbers. We always read and listen to numbers of victims, but we have no idea how much it is, right? And just to understanding this big number of portraits of people, like, and when you say about the discipline, this is how just my private story is that I never sleep more than 4 hours. So it means I have 20 hours a day. In these 20 hours, I can do a lot. So it means I can paint a portrait, I can do other work, and this is possible. I have a lot of energy, and as I say, it's a very big obsession. I have to do it. There is no other way.
Wow. Sylvia, can you, what are your thoughts when you see this? You and I, we've spoken a lot about art. We've seen many different artists' portraits. When you see this whole project, what are your thoughts?
As I said, I'm totally impressed by what she does and how real these people are. 957. She's close to 1,000.
No, I have already.
You already have,
yeah.
1,000. I mean, it is overwhelming. It is overwhelming. I don't know. Maybe the relatives of the victims should have access to those pictures. I don't know how you would go about it, but I think it might help many that they are so closely remembered, that she has been doing that for the past 100 years, 15 years, whatever, and does it compulsively. I think it would help people. Maybe they find their loved one among them. I mean, there were, I think, 4,000 victims all in all.
3,000.
Was it 4?
No,
I don't know.
3.
Okay.
3,066, yeah.
Okay. But it might help them. We should sort of launch a campaign that these victims have not been forgotten. They have been portrayed. They have been remembered, and they are here forever. I mean, in their minds, they're always forever, of course, in the family's minds. But in principle, they're there now. They are officially there, officially remembered. It's like on a big board when you have the names of war victims written down. It's a fantastic visual memorial.
For me, it's also about the process. It's like this process that I don't have to paint every day a portrait, but it's always there. It's in my studio. It's very private. I'm not extrovert with this work. I'm not showing them very often. I just need them to be there and to be part of all other projects. So this is it's of course, it's amazing to be in touch also with relatives, but I'm not even sure if I could do it. I think I would need someone else to handle that. It's too much, I think.
Wow, how inspiring. Let's move on now to some of your most current projects. And this is called Unlimited History. This is a short informational film about the project.
Nazi stormtroopers made other violent gestures. In 1933, together with sympathetic students, they organized public burnings of unsuitable books, particularly those by Jewish authors.
When the Nazis rose to power in 1933, they wanted to purge evidence of Jewish life in Germany by changing the alphabet.
Albert, Anton, Änderung, Ärger. Bernhard, Bertha, Cäsar, Cäsar, Charlotte, Charlotte, David, Dora, Emil, Emil, Friedrich, Fritz, Gustav, Gustav, Heinrich, Heinrich, Ida, Ida, Jakob, Julius, Katharina, Konrad, Ludwig, Ludwig, Marie, Martha, Nathan, Nordpol, Otto, Otto, Ökonom, Ödipus, Paula, Paula, Quelle, Quelle, Richard, Richard, Samuel, Siegfried, Schule, Schule, Theodor, Theodor, Ulrich,
So this video goes on for a while longer. I'd like us to start talking about it though in this project. So again, we have something that is about making the memory, about creating a current state of memories, about remembering something, about documenting something. Tell us about this Unlimited History Sigmund Klein, please, Ramesh.
Sure. That was the beginning. This video short introduction was a project about 1933. So when I came to Austria, I met also my Austrian grandfather, who is my step grandfather. So my grandparents were extremely close and important for me in Austria. And I also met my grandmothers. And the only thing I always heard about my grandmothers was the time of the war. It was the Second World War. One of them lost their son. The other one never talked about the husband. So I was curious, what's the story of my grandfather? And he never talked about it. So I turned 30 and I never gave up asking him, so what was with your father? So why was your mother like so sad and grumpy all the time? So it turned out my grandfather's father was a Jewish Czech activist, but he even didn't tell me that. So I heard, okay, so his father was Jewish, and then I figured out his father was killed in a concentration camp, and my grandfather kept all the archive of the letters of the concentration camp and everything else what they still had. But I was not allowed to open the box where everything was in, but I did. Obviously, yeah, I had to, because I just wanted to know who is the history of my own family. So what happened? You feel a traumata, but if you don't know why, you have the traumata because this is what you give to the next generations, and this is so important, I think, to talk about it and to understand why your relatives are acting like this.
Ramesh,
So this is,
and maybe tell us, so how do you transform this? We're about going to take a look at it right now. Tell us, what are we looking for? How did you transform this box of letters and memorabilia? Right. How did you transform it into artworks? We saw with the 9/11, work you're doing, then it was taking portraits, taking photos and then painting them as portraits. What are we looking for here?
I start in archives, like when I know I'm researching about book burning or spelling alphabet or Holocaust or the bookkeeping pages of different archives in like Dachau, Buchenwald, or Ravensbrück. I research as a researcher. I also work with historians. So this is for me a very important work to have all information. And then I decide what tool I use. As a painter, I love to paint, of course, but I do many drawings, installations, videos, sound pieces. So first I need to understand, then I have to collect, and then I have to figure out what medium I want for which project. So this, what you show, is Sigmund Klein project at Index Stockholm. There was also a sound piece to hear. So the small paintings of, these are paintings of postcards you were showing first. These postcards were also in the box of my grandfather. You can see Sigmund Klein. These were some of them even love letters to his wife, and photographs, everything during the First World War till 1938, when he was deported at the Reichspogromnacht. So I decided to paint all these postcards on both sides, also the information and the photographs. So it's also, yeah. So this is how I wanted to transform it, just painting. And I don't know how many these are, a lot. And this is one block. The other block, I decided to work on the letters of the concentration camp. I did a sound piece. You can also listen on my homepage to the sound piece as well. And I did blueprints. All the letters I had to copy and to write by myself with the handwriting of Sigmund Klein. So this is how you can show it, like when you stop this one, you go down to the letters of the concentration camp on my homepage, and then you can see there is a book. Okay, go down. Okay, good. Okay, do you see the blueprints? The blueprints, the blue drawings. No, go up. Yes, go. No, stop. You see the blue drawings, the blue one? Yes, so these are the letters. So he was deported to Dachau, 1938. And then afterwards to Buchenwald in Weimar, and then to Ravensbrück, where he was killed. There's censored letters, and they always had to start, like all the victims, prisoners. Of course, they were not allowed to talk about the concentration camps, so they had to say very good and everything's fine, and thank you, I received the money. So then I thought, oh my God, okay, so the relatives had to pay money to the prisoners, to their relatives. So my Sigmund Klein had to pay even for his dentist in Weimar, in Buchenwald. So they had to pay for the torture. And so this is why I wanted to find, so now stop, you can see now the black and white drawings. These are exactly this one. No, go down, not the paintings, the next one. Yes, the drawing. Yeah. So these are also drawings, and this is the bookkeeping page of the concentration camps, where you can see always Sigmund Klein. I marked it in red and how much money he received in there. So there are many. So you can see it's like a very intense and disciplined work. It was difficult, of course, to realize it also for myself, because there are many pages and it's all about numbers. And it was also sad. So these are all drawings. And then I decided also to paint the 3 concentration camps from the bird perspective. You can see this, yeah. These are, yeah, so you can see the barracks in red where he was. Yeah, these are paintings and his archive. So I never use, this is maybe important for my work, I never use the archive material as it is. I always find a way to make art, like drawing, or as I say, art, like a sound piece. Yeah.
So Sylvia, tell us, what do you, looking at this, so we have, I mean, the artifacts, these chilling, horrible to hold in your hand artifacts. You have Ramesh, she is copying them and turning them into something else. I mean, what are your thoughts coming from your background, where you are always and you're an art critic, you are judging other work, I mean, you have such a wealth of knowledge of art. What are your thoughts on all this?
Well, I must say I'm more than impressed by the way she expresses herself, giving another personality, again, some immortality in a way, and the way she does it, not only pasting it, putting it there, but copying bit by bit everything, and thus making it not only a memorial but a work of art. I'm very impressed by her work, very much.
Wow.
And I'm proud of her because we discovered her many years back. Yeah, and she did a good job, I must say. I feel like Mother Hen, you know.
No, we are.
Hovering over her
and
say, oh my God, she has come a long way and she's done so great.
Fantastic. So let's take a look now at the next. So this is, again, keep up the intensity of this artwork. Let's take a look at Unlimited History, which is now looking at your other side of your family coming from Iran, which obviously has also that a different perspective. Tell us about this, and we're going to be looking at some maps. Tell us a little bit about this, Ramesh.
Yeah. As I said, when I moved to Vancouver to spend a lot of time with also my grandmother, she was always telling, she loved to talk about the story of the Street of Roosevelt, which was renamed a few times. And there is also a video, you can find it also on my homepage, where she was talking about it. So Street of Roosevelt was renamed to Roosevelt 1943 when Roosevelt, Churchill, and Stalin negotiated about the war in Tehran. And then I decided, okay, so now I have to understand this country. And as I said, from the Constitutional Revolution, the beginning of the 20th century, I went to the Archive of Foreign Affairs in Berlin to see, because I knew that German did work with the old Shah, the Reza Shah. Everything I knew was from oral history of my family and their friends and etc. So I didn't just want to trust anyone, I just wanted to research it. And this is what I did for more than 4 years. And this was extremely exciting because I focused on the Trans-Iranian Railway, which started, when you go to the next map, it started from the Persian Gulf to the Caspian Sea. You can see this is like all these paintings, they come from archive material, from war magazines and postcards, archives from different archive material, from Foreign Affairs or Bundesarchiv. So the north part of the Trans-Iranian Railway is through the mountains, through the Elbrus Mountains. And so Reza Shah, the Shah of the old Shah, Reza, I mean, it's all the story about Reza Shah. He invited the German to build the north part of the Trans-Iranian Railway. And this is what Nazi Germany really appreciated, because they needed this rail route for themselves, for their war strategy. Yeah, so this is all about the story. So it's a geopolitical history story. It's the invasion of Iran, 41, when Roosevelt, Stalin, and Churchill decided to keep the German out. I just make the story super short, right? This is a very, very complex piece, and you're very welcome to read my book and just to call me whenever you want to, because it's just too big to make it short.
And so, tell us a little bit about this. Why this railway? So you're saying that the railway was actually, it was a force for evil, whereas in Europe, in the United States, in the West, railways normally are thought of as something that brings progress, that connects people, that increases well-being of people. And here you're looking at these railways as from the invasion perspective, as from the bringing in hostile foreign forces. Is that right? What is the significance of this railway?
No, it's not just about it. It is very important for Iran, especially for that time, because Reza Shah, his idol was Ataturk, so it was all about working on infrastructure as well. It's also a colonial idea to conquer railways, to be closer to oil and to it's very difficult. I think railways and the routes are geopolitical movements are building our world how it is right now as well. So this is why I focused on this railway, because you can research that everyone was interested in this railway, because it is possible to use it from the Caspian Sea, from the Persian Gulf to the Caspian Sea, so it's easy to come to Russia. And it's just through all the oil fields of Iran.
Wow. Okay. So
The Persian corridor.
Do we have any questions from our audience at this time? Are there any comments or anything? You're welcome to turn on your microphone and say hi. Otherwise, let's move on to our first roundtable, which is, I'd like to start with Sylvia. So the roundtable is, what role does art play in today's West? Sylvia, it seems like but a few generations ago, the West was tired of war, and art has had a different societal role than today, when we have all forgotten what war is, and artists see their mission as being as politically engaged as possible. What role does art play in today's West, and is it different from several generations ago?
I think it is definitely different from generations ago, because in the post-war time, in the years after the Second World War, people were not only sick and tired of wars and hardship, but were hungry for art, especially in our countries, in Austria and Germany, where the then contemporary art was forbidden. They called it degenerate art and Arte der Kunst. Pictures, works of art were destroyed, burned, forbidden, had to be exported secretly, and people had no access, the artists of our countries had no access to what was going on in the then contemporary art. So right after the war, the new generation, then very young, like our Austrian artists, Arno Freiner, Maria Lasnik, who became heroes later on, they traveled hungrily to Paris first to see what went on. And then as the focus on contemporary art switched to New York, from France to New York, from Paris to New York, they traveled to New York with all the hardships, because nobody had much money. I mean, not much, I mean, no money at all, more or less. But they made it possible to go and look what is going on in the world, and was so inspired and so impressed that, of course, it left an image on an imprint on their art that they produced as a consequence. And that was the post-war spirit. And then, of course, it's the more complacent we became. We considered ourselves, I'm a post-war child, by the way. I was born on the day the Americans marched into Salzburg on May 5th, 45. So I just did not experience war. But as I remember very clearly the post-war period. And then as years went on, we became comfortable, life became comfortable, we were more pampered, of course, and we thought we considered ourselves to inhabit the island of the blessed, as we called it, because no war in our time, we thought, until pretty recently, no war in Europe, the European Union came about, and so we thought, fantastic, no war in our time, and already the pills. So we had the best of all the worlds, and young artists show that. They show they are what I see at the Academy, what I, of course, saw with Ramesh. I mean, extremely impressive with her, but the young artists at the Academy of Fine Arts, and we sort of support practically all the publications they do, the young artists, they hardly deal with the question of art any longer. They deal with the past. They do research. It's the grandchildren's generation now, and they want to know what went on with their grandparents, of course, being hard judges, because of course they cannot probably feel the pressure their grandparents had sometimes endured. So there's no mercy with what went on. So they go into research. What did they do? Were they involved in Nazi politics and so forth? So that's a very large part of what is going on, even at the academy, the art academy. And then, of course, what has come up in recent years is the gender question. You talk more liberally about gay, lesbian, trans, whatever, neutral, whatever exists, which is fantastic. I remember, how much time do I have?
Please,
I
you
can
can
go
go on
on
for as
because
long as you like. It's extraordinary what you're
because you know,
saying.
in my time, so much has changed. First, I mean, gays. But it was against the law to be gay. I mean, and you know, people had to go into trouble to sort of adopt their young boyfriends and whatnot, and make all sorts of. And then all of a sudden, it became easy, liberal. I have, of course, in the art world, very many gay friends, and they call me up. I have a new love, and I said, "Oh, well, that's great." And then I get to know him. Said that guy is not going to do you good. And sure enough, I mean, I was right. And then say, okay, they got a separation, and at the expense of pretty much whatever. And then a new love comes up. And now this guy you will really like. He's fantastic. So, you know, that you can talk so easily about that is fantastic, fantastic. Although now it is getting a bit much, I think, because I mean, like trans and is an important problem. It's very, very good that it's being dealt with, but it's not the major problem that we have in our world. I think it is a super small percentage of people who have those problems, and I really respect their difficulties they've had in adjusting, or maybe trying to adjust with some existence that they chose to be or live. But at the academy, you know, they have 3 toilets because for men and ladies and others, and or they have whatever. Okay, they do what they want. They do what they want. I think it's now a bit taking over. But anyway, that's one of the things they deal with in art. So, but now, of course, you say we don't know what war is. I mean, the Yugoslav war was pretty close, but that was between the former Yugoslav nations, that we considered that sort of a civil war in a way. They split up into various new nations, some contested to this day, like Kosovo is still not accepted by Serbia. But anyway, it was among them, we thought. And now with that new war in Ukraine, that is different. That is, we experienced the intervention of Russia in Czechoslovakia when the Prague Spring was pretty brutally stopped by the Russian tanks that went into Prague and Czechoslovakia. We had many refugees then, Hungary before the revolution in '56, but now the world has become more alert. The Russians were not prevented from doing what they wanted in Czechoslovakia in '68, but now the world has reacted, and it's very bitter to see. And you know, I mean, you never know what happens. So war is and artists react, and they go a little bit away from their gender and whatever themes, and go right into that new political discussion and work it out in their art.
Wow. So, Ramesh,
that's my impression.
Well, thank you so much for sharing with us. You touched on so many important points. Ramesh, tell us, so Sylvia's talking about that generation gap. I mean, in German, they say it much better, right? The battle of the generations. Tell us about that. As she said, Sylvia mentioned that, you know, these people, and you mentioned too, that the people who lived through that World War II and all of those awful things, they didn't want to talk about it or put it on a wall and show everybody. Tell us now about this new generation and what the values are. What do you see in the future of art? What do you see in, what do you see in your continuing tomorrow when you get up at 6:30 in the morning? What are you going to be doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think I have to say, yeah, art is free, and artists are reacting always politically in a way. If it's reacting on the war or gender or other things, I think it's all the same, and I really deeply respect everyone who does art. That's the first. I really have to say that. When I wake up in the morning, I listen to first of all, I listen to the news. I have to just to start. And I have two sons, adult sons, and one is an artist, and the other one is the music. What you also studied, the science of music, and I can see how they think about the world is different. They're smart. I learn a lot, because I think we kind of, or maybe it's me, stick in stories, history, and I can't see the future. And this is, I think we have to open a door and let them in, like the kids, the young minds. And also for artists, we need young artists. It's fresh, it's interesting. They work in new medias. They understand a lot. They know even more, as I did in a young age. And so I think the future is definitely young, diverse people. Yeah, I believe in that, and it's so inspiring for me as well. I'm so in love for these young people.
So Sylvia, final thoughts. Tell us, you've shared so much wisdom, as Ramesh has with us. You've shared all of these years of experience and wisdom that you've been gathering. Tell us, what do you see now? As you mentioned, so you when you were growing up, when you were born, the day the Americans were coming into Austria, you lived a different, you understood the ethos of a different culture. Today it's very different. Everybody, you've got 3 bathrooms that you can choose from. I guess people can choose from depending on how they identify themselves. What do you see in the future? What are you going to be looking at tomorrow? You just came back from the Biennale in Venezia, in Venice. Tell us about what do you see in the future?
That is very hard. I don't have the crystal ball that I can look into, but I guess I'm a born optimist. And even in hard times, you know, I've learned that also from my family. Back to the post-war years, we had a large house in Salzburg, and which was not destroyed. And my parents had many friends who didn't have a home any longer. So I grew up in those years after the war, when every upstairs, first, second floor bedroom was taken by some couple of friends, and everything was shared. And there were like 20, 25 people living in that house. And we shared on a Sunday chicken, maybe one and a half, and every day something with flour, pancakes on Monday, dumplings on Tuesday, and so on. All these dishes. So up to this day, I've had it up to here. If I'm not forced to eat somebody's dry cake that they bake themselves, I refuse. But anyway, it was interesting that the less you have, the more you are prepared to share. It's an interesting phenomenon in life that this is the case. I even a little experience. This is not about art. This is about my personal experience. At one point, I had bought quite a lot for my kids and so forth, and I had a cash of 60 euros, 60. I mean, no hardship. I knew next money is coming next month and so forth, but in cash, I had 60. I usually take the subway and go to these underground passages to my office, and there's always some beggar. And I usually get them €1, €2, something, nothing, but mostly never more than. At this point, I didn't care at all whether I had 30 or 60. Didn't matter. For the first time in my life, I gave half of what I had, 30 euros, to that beggar, and went to the office. And after that, I've returned to my €2. So So in times of hardship, what I want to say, I've experienced it myself, you become a different person, you share, and that is my optimism for life. Whatever comes, like now, I mean, we're all having enormous electricity bills we've not experienced before. We're still super, I mean, in comparison, but we open our hearts to refugees. You know, they come by the hundreds, and they get, all of my surroundings, they open their apartments, they open their homes, they help, they contribute, they bring something. So that is excellent. That is, as far as the social phenomena go, I think we are on a very good way, because people, in a good sense, in a bad sense, will never change. Dictators will not change, but also charity will not change either. And in art, I think, you know, it's like an up and down and come and go. Like the Biennale, my experience, that was a fantastic experience. They focused very much on female art, which I think is not necessary, because I think quality counts more, but maybe it's good that you had a Biennale that focused on that. It was excellent quality at the same time. And I think, you know, it's this up and down. We have had these NFTs, the non-fungible tokens, that were a big hype. Some artists benefit beautifully, like Damien Hirst, who is the genius of business. He did whatever he does gets him money. This man is a phenomenon. He did NFTs and works on paper at the same time, hundreds done by his assistants, doing little dots, les cerisiers, the cherry trees, and he offered the audience by an NFT. You know, there's a crypto art, and if you choose the NFT, I destroy the work on paper. If you choose the work of paper, I destroy the corresponding NFT. So he's fantastic. NFTs have gone down. Maybe they have a future, maybe they have not. But artists, the young artists, will be the same. They are idealistic. They do their thing, and many of them don't make it. Of course, that is the fate of artists more than any teacher. You can have bad teachers, they still have their job. Yeah, artists, even if they're good, some don't make it, but anyway, they will succeed. I think that art is going to go on like it has been, with ups and downs, with different trends, but in principle in the same spirit.
Fantastic. So thank you to Sylvia Eisenberger-Kunz and Ramesh Daha for a show. We've gone through a lot of the story of humanity, some of its worst, and clearly the best of its hope. So thank you so very much to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Let's
And take
see how we
care.
can stay in touch with them.
Yeah.
So we have the Gesellschaft der Freunde der Bildenden Kunst. Here it is, the Society of Friends of the Fine Arts Vienna. So Sylvia, people can reach out to you here if they have questions.
Absolutely.
So there it is,
Yes.
Eisenberger.
Whenever. I'm available.
Wonderful. So, and again, that is kunstfreunde.at if you'd like to reach out to Sylvia. There's her email or her mobile phone number, ramesh-daha.com. Ramesh, people can reach out to you here if they have questions about
There's
your
my email. Absolutely. You can find me.
That's
Fantastic.
lovely. I love that picture.
So here it is, rameshdaha.com, and you can see all of the work that we looked at under projects today. So there it is, Unlimited History and the Victims 9/11. You can see everything, and as she said, also you can hear it. It is multimedia. It is there for you to go through. So thank you once again. Let's take a look at what's coming up next week. We have, I can bring up there it is. So we have next week, The Art of the Opera Coach. When asked what he, quote, really thinks of actors, the film director Alfred Hitchcock famously replied, quote, fundamentally, actors are a race apart. This group is divided into two sections. First, those who have talent and have never received any recognition of it. And second, those who have received recognition without having any talent. Either way, they're cattle, unquote. One wonders what Hitchcock's thoughts about singers were. In any case, as far as the opera house is concerned, singers, be they with or without talent, have a secret advantage that few, if any of us, ever recognize. Before singers even get close to the stage, they are coached by a super musician called an opera coach. These coaches are at once a singer's singing teacher, orchestra, conductor, psychologist, and best friend. And no matter how strong-willed or confident-looking a singer appears, she or he knows their coach holds the keys to success on stage. So, whenever you read a great review of a star singer's performance, don't forget to whom that performance is indebted. With that in mind, our show is privileged to simultaneously interview 4 of the very best coaches in the business: Beatrice Benzi, coach at Teatro alla Scala; Nino Sanichizzi, coach at the LA Opera; Yelena Cordina, coach at the Metropolitan Opera; and Luisella Germano, coach at the Vienna State Opera. Let's welcome these extraordinary musicians who always have talent and yet never receive the recognition they deserve. As always, all information about upcoming shows can be found at www.simeonmoro.com. Once again, thank you so very, 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 very much to Sylvia Eisenberger-Kuntz and Ramesh Daha. Thank you to Agnieszka and Benoit Rivole for their support of this show. Most of all, thanks to you, our participants, who all make it all worthwhile. From Vienna, Austria, and New London, New Hampshire, goodbye, and see you next Wednesday.
Bye. Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much.